Hey, what is going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and this here is an Xbox 360. I believe it is a big block Jasper. Pretty sure it is. My recollection's a little bit spotty here, but this is not my console. This console actually belongs to Adam Korlick. It was my console, and about 2 or 3 years ago, I ended up donating it to him. Now, the premise of how that even happened was I've been watching Adam Korlick for a while. I really enjoy his content, and his channel is going to be linked down below in the description. And he was having a thing where he was wanting to get, region free on Xbox 360 working somehow. And from what I understand, he did have a console that was given to him that had a flash DVD drive, and I believe the flash was outdated, and it was kind of one of those situations where it was running into an error as well. So I said, you know what, I have this extra console here that I worked on, and it's just sitting here. It's a perfectly good console. I'm not really interested in selling it, and I have extra consoles around here, so I'm not really going to be using it. But the DVD drive's already flashed, and I installed a 1.2, well, RGH 1.2 install on here. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, that whole region free thing you're looking for, this system will actually do that. If you back up your games onto an external drive or transfer them internally here via FTP, you'll be able to play games from any region on the system. You just won't be able to safely go on Xbox Live and, all that fun stuff. But I said, it's going to be the closest thing to what you're looking for. To which from there, we started talking back and forth, and we agreed for me to send it to him. And, I wasn't expecting anything out of it. It was just like, hey, I like your stuff. I want to give this to you. There you go. It's a donation. So, about 2-3 years later, he finally got around to trying it out, and he ran into a few issues here and there, mainly one issue with the DVD drive, of all things. But we kind of started talking back and forth, and I said, you know what, man? Send it back to me. I'll see what I can do. I'll try and resolve this. And then we kind of started talking. I was telling him about the other stuff you can do with a modified 360, a hard-modded one. And he was getting kind of excited about it, so we've arranged some upgrades. We're doing a few things on here, and really the only thing, because this was, this was not like a sale or anything, I just said, dude, just include whatever parts I need on here, and just pay me back for, like, the potential part I might need and shipping, and we'll be good. So that's about all there was on here. But this is a prime example of why I have many tutorials showing how to modify 360s and such. I've been asked to sell 360s to open up a shop, and this is an example of why I do not solicit my services, because I would feel awful if I'm sending things out to people and there's something that might be messed up on here. So we're going to take a look at this system. We're going to open it up. We're going to see what's going on. I'm going to do, a few other little things inside the system, and we're going to hopefully get this shipped back to Mr. Korlick here soon. So, first of all, let's just take a look at what's going on. The system is thankfully in pretty solid shape. Oh, and for anybody who might be interested in what the hell this video is about, I'm not going to be explicitly going over all the detailed steps on here, so if you want to follow along, this would not be the video to do that. I'm going to have tutorials for a lot of what I'm going to be doing here, and they're available on the channel and such. But this is just kind of a video where I'm going to kind of just walk through what the hell I'm doing in a way, and kind of just glaze over a few things, and if you're entertained by that, awesome. But it's pretty casual, pretty laid back, not going to be a whole ton of editing. Anyways, let's go ahead and turn this thing on, see what the hell's going on. I should actually, well, let's see it boot. Maybe. There we go. Alright. So, as you can see, it's booting up just like any normal Xbox 360 should. And if we come right here, after a few seconds, you all will see it's modded, because it's going to boot into, there we go, the Aurora dashboard, which I have set up here with a 20 gigabyte internal hard drive. So, there we go, that's all working just fine. I'm going to turn off the console, going to turn it back on here with the eject button. Boots up super fast that way. And if we come over here, we're going to see another nice screen, Zell Reloaded, which means this is, again, a hard-modded system. So now that we know that it's working just fine while booting up and such, let's take a look at the actual issue that Adam had contacted me about. So again, I'm just going to turn it on and need to find a controller and see what the hell's going on with this thing. Alright, so the issue. This man ended up messaging me and said, dude, any game disc I put in here is not recognized as a game. It can be a retail Xbox 360 game, a retail original Xbox game, does not matter. the thing will read movies, I guess, and it will detect these as movies, and it will detect data disks, because there was actually a CD I gave him which included all the sensitive files of this system here. So he said, you know, all that's fine, but it just doesn't play games off the disk drive, like nothing. So I just want to see that firsthand, because I don't know why it wouldn't. So let's go ahead, open this up, and here I just got any game, which is going to be Peter Jackson's King Kong. I'm going to take this out, pop it in here, and let's see. So I'm listening. Yeah, it's not speeding up, and indeed, it's just showing it as a DVD. And if we come right here, play DVD. Now that's really strange, because first of all, I can flash a DVD drive in my sleep. I'm not saying that I messed this up, but like, so that's really strange, because the first thing I'm thinking of is, did I flash the DVD drive incorrectly? And with that, I'm kind of thinking, well, it might be a little bit difficult to. I mean, it's certainly possible, but I've done these in my sleep, but I'm also human, so maybe this was the one out of how many countless 360s that I messed up the DVD drive flash on? I don't know. The other thing is, too, if it had a matching, well, okay, if it had a mismatching DVD key, technically, if you put in a game and you bring up the guide, it would say play game as opposed to play DVD. So if it just said play game and then you boot up and it brings you back to the dashboard, that typically means you have a mismatching DVD key with your drive board. However, it's reading the disk, as you can see, so I don't really know if it's a laser issue or what. That's really strange. Okay, so I was able to replicate it on my end here. I mean, there's nothing else I can really do now aside from open up the console. So let's go ahead, shut down the console, unplug everything, and let's take this thing apart. So let's go ahead and get this thing open here. Now I'll go ahead, take this off. There we go. Take off the hard drive, because that's no longer going to be needed. Although, you know, we are going to be using that for a thing, so don't you worry. I'm kind of going to be talking about some of this stuff as it happens here. But yeah, so again, this console is already stumping me a little bit, which is funny because this is a console that I had set up and I had shipped out, so it's leading me to either one of two situations. For anybody who's saying, oh, maybe the DVD flash went bad. No, that really doesn't happen. Like the actual custom firmware, that's not really a thing. For anybody who's saying, well, maybe the DVD drive got reflashed at one point, Adam's not going to do that. And at the same time, this is on a high enough dashboard and everything was done manually that he didn't go from like a low to a high dashboard that ended up reflashing it, which did happen at one point in the 360's life cycle. So that leads me to two possibilities. Either one, I had done a incorrect flash on there, which I hope I didn't, but if I did, that's an easy fix. It just takes a few minutes. And thankfully, since we have an RGH, guess what? We have the appropriate DVD drive that the console needs. Well, the DVD, ouch, sliced myself already, damn. It's been a bit since I've actually opened up a 360, so yeah, that was bound to happen. But there's going back to this, damn, I'm bleeding already. Are you kidding me? You know, I should definitely get a bandage for that. Alright, and we're back, thanks to the power of editing. But seriously, that's like the most annoying thing right there. I'm just trying to get into the system, you know, no issues here, and what stops me? Well, the thing slices me. And that's such a rarity that this happens. I think only like one or two 360s in the past have sliced me open, unfortunately. So, oh well, I'm all good. Hurts a little bit, but it's fine. It'll work out. So, let's go ahead and continue working on this. Anyways, kind of going back to what I was talking about here, this leads me to think either one of two things might have happened. Either one, the laser has gone bad in some way, which, you know what, at that point I'm not even going to try and fix the laser, I'm just going to replace it. So I did order a new pack of lasers, and just to have them on hand, so we might have to do a laser replacement. The other thing is, if somehow the incorrect DVD key has been flashed onto the DVD drive, well, I've done all the hard work on here already to reset glitch hack the system, so that Zell Reloaded screen that you all saw, the blue one, it pulls all the data directly off the motherboard itself, like the sensitive information such as the DVD key, the CPU key. So that means since we have all the NAND dumps and all that, I can just pull the DVD key that the motherboard expects, compile a new custom firmware for the DVD drive out of that, flash it back to the DVD drive, and Atom should be back up and running again with no issue. So it's either one of two of those issues there that I'm thinking shouldn't be all that difficult. Let's go ahead, get into the system here. All right, and yep, there's my old install. Chip's looking just fine. Very cool. And here we have a Lite-On DG16D2S. And the console's looking pretty clean, thankfully, on here, but I'm going to do some stuff on this as well, too. So, yeah. Cool. Alright, now I'm just seeing what I want to tackle first. Alright, so I decided here I want to tackle the DVD drive first, as that seems to be the issue with the console itself. So I've already removed a few of the screws, and I've checked. The warranty seal has been voided, which means I have been in this drive before. So, again, it's either going to be hardware or software related. So I'll just go ahead, remove that. Let's take all of this out. That's all okay. And I really don't need the motherboard at this point, so I'm just going to put this over to the side. There we go. Alright, that's fine. So, cool. I guess at the very least, what I could do is unlock the PCB. And yeah, that's all the original stuff right there, so I mean, I haven't no real concern on this. Everything looks clean enough on there. Yeah, that's all fine. So I'll do some cleanup, certainly, just because while I'm in here, why the hell not? So for this, let's see what I like to do, and I'll kind of show you all. Hopefully that's not too blinding, but there we go. So here we go. I'm just going to get about a Q-tip and some isopropyl alcohol. And what I like to do is kind of just keep it on the side right there. That's all okay. And I'm going to go on the sides here, clean these up a bit. Why not? Barely get in. So there we go. That's just kind of some of the common places where that's going to be. The gears actually look pretty good, as well as the drive belt as well, so that should all be okay. That means the disk drive's not going to be sticking or anything. I do see some grime right here. That should all be okay. And I'll go ahead and clean these up, because why the hell not? Alright, so got enough cleaned up there. Now, let me go ahead and clean the laser itself real quick. Oh, snap. Are you kidding me? I just dropped a whole damn, Nice. So I just dropped one of my Q-tips in here. That's perfect. Again, something that never happens. All of a sudden that happens here. I'm just going to take some isopropyl alcohol, clean up the laser. It's really about all we need to do, man. Cool. So let me actually just do that a bit properly. Alright. I mean, there's not really all that much cleaning that needs done on here, thankfully. So I'll close that back up. I am going to put the top on this drive again. There we go. And what we can do, I guess, is check out the drive firmware. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So I have a CD that contains all of the sensitive information of Atom's console here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab all the NAND dumps and stuff off of that, and I'm going to see what the expected DVD drive key is, and then I'm going to dump this disk drive itself and see what I get from here. And if we get a mismatching DVD key, we're going to be able to fix that. Alright, so I had an idea here, and I'm able to take this shortcut because, again, I've done a lot of the heavy lifting on here with the RGH 1.2 install, because I had that RGH 1.2, I already had the NAND dumps, I already had the CPU key, the DVD key, so I actually don't even really need to dump the data off of the chip here itself. I can just pull this DVD key straight from the NAND dumps and rebuild a new custom firmware here for the DVD drive and flash it back on here. Best case scenario, it fixes the issue. Worst case scenario, we're in the exact same spot we're in right now, which leads me to believe it's probably going to be the laser. So, what we can do here is, let's see, I don't have a source. So, I'm going to have to create a key here, which key DB, I guess. Alright, so here's what I did. I actually just grabbed the custom firmware itself, which is this one, the 0251V3 bin. And I guess here, like the DVD key, well, I can't put it in there, unfortunately, but then I'm going to pop in the target firmware, which we're just going to want the same thing, 0251. Now, this DVD key is not supposed to be all Fs, but everything else is fine, so this is going to be a DG16D2S drive with Light Touch 3.0. I'm going to go to Manual Spoofing, and here I'm actually going to pop in the key itself. So this is the key. That's fine. Spoofed as, well, we don't even need to do any spoofing here, really. Either way, I can press OK right here. So that is the DVD key that has been pulled from the motherboard. I'm going to save this to a file. And just like I got everything here, I guess I'll call it Atom Light CFW. That's fine. That's all been saved. Awesome. So it is yelling that, serial info is not copied, but that's okay. This is now a compiled custom firmware with the proper DVD key injected. So that saves us the time of dumping it, which is all good. So at that point, I just need to hook the DVD drive up to the computer itself here, and I can start flashing. I just wanted to show you all my kind of rat's nest quick and dirty setup here for flashing this. So we have the DVD drive. It has been hooked up to power and data, which both connect into this X360 USB Pro version 2, which needs power. This will allow us to have an interface to hook this up to a computer here, like a standard Windows computer, and flash. But we also need power for the DVD drive itself, so we hook this up for data through mini USB, but for power, we have to use a SATA to Molex adapter, and then Molex to any type of external or internal power source. Typically, you can use those from a power supply, but since I'm going to use a laptop to flash, I use this trusty, pretty much everything to USB 3.0 adapter, and it works just fine. So that is one downside with the 360 for flashing a DVD drive. You really just can't take the DVD drive and hook it up directly to your computer using like a cheapo, SATA to USB adapter. It just doesn't work. So if you're going to do it like that, you got to use one of these. Although the nice thing is, if you use an X360 USB Pro, it makes the process so much easier. There's just so many less problems that you run into with that. So with that all hooked up here, I just need to make sure the drive has power, and then we can continue on Jungle Flasher. And there we go. Everything should be powered. Yep, there we go. We have power at this point. It could be a little bit iffy. I know I just said that, you're going to run into less issues. With the original, I was just fine with this that integrates everything. Sometimes it's a little bit spotty for me. But either way, this is how it should look. You see all the lights that are coming up, so let's continue on to Jungle Flasher. Alright, so let's see if I can remember this all from memory. I'm pretty much, I had to come here. As you can see, X360 USB Pro is showing up. My disk drive is showing up as well. That's all well and good. So because in Firmware Tool, I already have everything set up right here. This is going to be the target. The custom firmware has already been created. Right here, I'm going to, let's see, do a light on erase, and it is a Phat, so that's okay. So I'm going to do light on erase, target DVD key can't be verified. Yes, we want to continue. Yes. And here, when erase is complete, vendor intro will be reset. So power drive off then on in quick succession once. Do you want to proceed? Yes. So it is doing that, and now I need to turn the disk drive off and on, which I just did. And there we go. The drive is in vendor mode. So at this point here, I'm going to do a write. And there we go, it's erased, and now it is writing that custom firmware I created back over to the DVD drive. It's now reading it back just to verify. Right, okay, so I'm going to do an outro ATA reset. There we go, and I'm going to do another outro ATA reset. Alright, cool. So the DVD drive has been reflashed at this point. The custom firmware should not be an issue. So let's go ahead, and again, this was here. Yep, that's my key. All that's good. Let's go ahead and hook this back into the 360 and see if it makes a difference. Alright, so we're going to do the exact same test as before. So I'm going to turn the console on. We all got to see it glitch right there. It should be done. So there we go, it's booting up. I'll also take my controller. This is fun. And I've got my copy of King Kong right here. Again, just any game. So let's open up the tray, pop in the disc, close the tray, and let's see what happens. Are you kidding me? That was it? Are you kidding me? It was a mismatching DVD key, you all. All right, I messed that one up. All right. Adam, I'm sorry about that. I have no idea how the hell that got mismatched, but it did at one point. But as you can see, this game is working just fine. So because that is super loud, I'm gonna pop that out here. There we go. And let me also grab a backup game I have around here. So just an example, this is my, as you can see, backup copy of Call of Juarez. Going to pop this in. And it's getting super loud. And let's see. There we go. This works as well too. Would you look at that? And it says right there, play game on disc. And if I give it enough time, it's going to say play Call of Juarez. So, yeah. Cool. Alright, well, I'm happy it wasn't... There we go, play Call of Juarez. Well, I'm happy, again, that it wasn't hardware related. It's just my own goof on there, which I have no idea how, out of all the systems I've worked on, and of course it's the one I end up giving to someone, so would you look at that? Alright, cool. Well, the disk drive, I would say, is clean. It has completely been resolved, so I'm going to shut this system down. I'm going to pop all the screws back into the DVD drive, and we'll say that the DVD drive maintenance and all that stuff is now complete. Alright, so again here, I'm just going to disconnect everything. Take the drive out. You know, I'm simultaneously happy and disappointed. I'm really happy that's all there was to this. Because again, I didn't have any extra lasers on hand, so I actually got a pack of these just in case. But even if they were going to arrive late, I even told Adam, I said, you know what? I have, other disk drives here. I've got other lasers. Worst case, if it's a hardware-related issue, we can just swap that in and we'll be good. But it wasn't. So good and bad. Again, I'm just sitting here so perplexed how that got missed or how that got mixed up. Was this I don't know, was it a console that I was rebuilding or what? I have no idea. I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't know what I was thinking back in. I saw this, it was around July 2017 when I had at least RGH'd this console, so I made sure the RGH was working, but there we go. So we got all of that done. So the DVD drive is complete. No issues there. That thing can go away. Now, let's take a closer look at the console itself. So for this here, there's actually not even all too much that's going to be, like, the RGH, the console, is working just fine. So some people might say, you know what, if it's working fine, we can just leave it be. I'm opening this up because I know that there's some things that I can do better on here in terms of some wiring, and there's at least a couple of things I want to do to change some stuff around. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to improve on this a little bit. Just because I built this out, you know, 3 years ago or so, something like that. And I know a few other things that I didn't know back then. So let's go ahead and just finish taking this thing apart here. All right, so here we are. What I did was I just cleaned up, you know, some of the points up top here. I'm gonna clean up the bottom. I don't have to reflash this, at least, you know, I don't have to solder anything directly to it, which is all good, but I do want to redo some stuff here, simply because I know this can be cleaned up a little bit further. I don't really want to rely on that clock point. If you use it, I mean, that's fine. It's just I know I can use a better and safer one on the bottom, and I'm going to redo, I mean, pretty much all the points on here, really. So, just one of those things where I'm like, hey, this was good for back then. I know I can do better. So, let's go ahead and start taking off pretty much everything on here. So, this is our ground point, which I'm just going to come here, remove that. That's all good. The 3.3 volt, I mean, that can stay, but I'm still going to redo because I want to trim that back a little bit further. So if you all can see, hopefully you can, yep. All right. So, all right. That wire's been removed. And this is going to be the clock point, which, I mean, because it is so sensitive, I have to be careful right here. Let me actually use a tool to kind of take this off a bit, if I can. This is just right here. I just want to remove this tape, and I'm still going to tape everything down, but I would rather use Captain tape as opposed to electrical tape here. There we go. So that's been removed. That's fine. And I just want to lift this a bit. That's going to be okay. All right, cool. So this is a very small point, probably the smallest point on this whole install. And hopefully, can you all see that? Yep, you can. Cool. So just, that's it. That's all we had to do. So that clock point has been removed, and I'm just going to remove the wire because we're not going to need that anymore. Well, again, I mean, okay, we still need it, but like this exact wire I want to get rid of. And even some of these wires here, let's see, one of them I am going to have to pull back. So the CPU wire, I'm going to pretty much run down here. So let's see, I could just, you know, remove them from up top here. That will be okay, as long as you all can see that works. So there we go. That's been removed. We also removed the yellow wire. That's been removed. And the green wire, because why not? So that's been removed. And these 2 points have been bridged. So really the only one I'm keeping here kind of original is going to be the red wire, which there we go. That's all okay. All right. Cool. And I'm actually going to reflow all of these points here because why not? So D, C, B, A, ground, and what was the last one? That 3.3. Might as well. This is gonna, yep, that came off, but it's all good. Let me just pop some fresh solder on there. It's all good. And I know that does not look nice right now, so let me go ahead and just straighten this thing out. So with that here, I just straightened it out a little bit. Let me solder this boy in. And we're okay. All right, so that is our 3.3 ground. Let me also just trim this back here because we're not going to need that much excess. All right, and our 3.3 is going to go right here. So I'm just going to start working on this, if you all can see. And I'll even pull everything back. So there we go. We got that point. And let's see, so there's that. that's all good. Get that soldered in here. That should be okay. And there we go. So I am happier with that point, I would say. That's our 3.3 volt. That is the power that we'll need. We should be okay. Cool. Cool, cool. All right. So next, let's, start cleaning up and rewiring everything else on here. Some of these are going to be okay, like the yellow point, and for some of this, I just wanted to, redo this here for the sake of it. All right, so next I'm also going to do the ground point. So I'm kind of gonna use some of the wire and mix in my own wire here. As long as everything's connected, it will all work just fine. And right there we go. So, cool. Let me go ahead and get this all wired up. This is going to be ground. So, yep. That's our ground point. We're all good. And if I bring it down here, this is going to be the point. And it would be a little, something like that is pretty much what I like to do. So I can trim this, bring it back, or cut it, trim it, which would bring it back. There we go. That should be enough. I can trim back a little bit more. And yeah, at this point, the console is still modified and such. It's not like this is unmodifying it. There, I'm happy with that. But I just wanted to redo this just to clean it up a little bit more. So again, just kind of no clean flux. Tin this point here. That should be okay. It's actually a little more than what I need in all honesty. And then from here, I can just wire it up like so. Actually, I'm going to use some more no clean on here. Again. Alright, so at that point we are okay. So that's kind of what I do with these two wires here. I just kind of keep them real close like that, bunch them in there. We have, yep, that's about it. Yeah, we have our power, we have our ground, so we just have a few more wires to go here, and we should all be okay. And yeah, even, again, some of these we'll be able to reuse with no issue. So even like this yellow wire here, yeah, I got a plan for this. So I'm going to kind of flip back and forth between all the points here, but for our post, let's see what we're going to do. Kind of going to bring it around here. That's going to be C. So that should all be okay. Yeah, and even this wire is just fine, really at this point where it's at. So I should be able to go here, solder in like so, and we're just okay on that. Cool. So now with that yellow wire, going to flip this around. So here we go. This is the yellow point that I was wanting to redo. And actually just like all of these on the bottom here I'm wanting to redo, and one of them I want to reroute completely. So with this, let me get some of this all cleaned up. Pretty much I'm going to go in here, clean up all these points because I'd like to make sure they're nice and clean. Alright, so right here we got this wire, which I'm just going to, again, go in, very lightly touch that. I just want to desolder that. That's really all I need to do. And I do want to trim this back, so, because we really don't need that much on here. Just not the best practice. My own fault, though. So we got that there, and we're just going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to touch up on that again with some fresh solder and no clean flux. And even though it says no clean, it's best to still clean this up and such. So there we go, we got all that. And let me get this soldered in. There. It's literally all we had to do. So I do want to retape this. Let me clean this up here because, you know, there's of course no clean. So I just kind of want to get it nice and dry. But even that I can, yeah, I'll just wait until the end. All right, and then for these two wires. So one of them I'm going to touch up, the other one I'm going to completely remove and redo. And actually I should even move the board a little bit. There you go, so you all can see. I'm just removing the tape on these that's securing everything in. And these ones secured pretty well, thankfully. So that's all good. These two pieces of tape here that you can't really see, I am going to, you know, remove those, pop them back on. That'll be no issue. But again, let me come over here and there. Just had to remove that. And I'm going to yank out this wire completely because I'm actually going to be running it. How am I going to do this? I'm going to run it right down here. Yeah, that sounds about right. So it's going to be that point there. That's all okay. And again, just going to do the exact same thing that we've been doing. And I'm going to route this. The reason why I'm changing this wire completely, or at least like the routing of it I'm changing completely, is because I've had a much better experience rerouting the wire right by the fan. And this is for our CPU reset. I know there's a few alternative points as well too. I'm still just gonna stick with the original here. But either way, again, just like the other points here, I do see it thankfully, so should be all easy. And I'm just going to do something like this. Just pop that in. All right, that's all we needed. And then with our green wire, there we go. I've just now removed that. I am going to trim this back. Cool. And I'll do the exact same thing. And this is, you know what, aside from this one down here, the one that I'm going to be doing, aside from the clock point, the one at the top of the board, this might be the smallest one. So I'm not even sure how well you all might be able to see that, but let's see, I'll just come over here. I'm going to touch this up. That should be okay. We barely need anti-solder for this to stick onto. Then there. Yeah, that's about it. Cool. So the green wire can pretty much stay in place. I'm going to have to retape that in a way. Kind of going to do something like that. And then here, not exactly sure how I'm going to do this, but this is how I'm wanting to route the CPU wire. So let's come around the top here and start getting everything rewired with the chip itself. There is one more point I need to do, and I'll be able to do that here momentarily. So for CPU reset, I do want to give this a little bit of slack, but with that I'm going to just cut right there. That'll be more than enough in all honesty. And I'm just going to trim this back a bit. That's enough. And that's going to be at our D point right there. So if you all are seeing, just D and all right, so there's that. And next up we have this wire here. This is of course going to be our PLL. So even so, we really don't need like this much of PLL. We really don't. But regardless, PLL is going to go about right there, something along those lines. Again, just kind of eyeballing it a little bit, but that, let me trim this. And you know, it's funny because I'm just sitting here doing this now, and I remember, like, you know, for doing something like this, I was always an advocate of, hey, you know, wire up the chip first and then route the wires and everything. After doing a few PS2s, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's just whatever's going to be more comfortable, but I'm kind of doing it backwards where I have the wires in place, I remove them from the chip, and then I'm rerouting them, putting them back. So I think depending on the console and depending on how you want to work, that can really depend on what exactly you want to do. But yeah, even this method is just fine. So see, I've got it like that. It should be right here. This is our A point. Nope, not wanting to do that. There we go. So that's our A point. That's all okay. That is tighter and cleaner than before. And now I need to do PLL, which, or not PLL, excuse me, I need to do clock, which should be easy enough here soon because I'm going to use one of the points underneath the board. So it's going to be this very little guy right here. It's FT2R2. And not only it's a bigger point, but it seems to work well enough. So now it's to the point where even though this is a alternative point, a lot of people just use it as their main point, including me. I've been using this on a few of my past installs, like a few of my more recent ones, excuse me. What I meant to say, with little to no issue. So let's see, is that going to be enough? I mean, I just want to make sure it's all sticking and fluxed up well enough, but there we go. So now I do need a wire, and the problem is the clock wire they give me, that little orange one, is little and orange and it's not enough. So let's see, I could technically do it with Kynar or even, you know, what I was using right here, which this will be fine. So let me just cut off some more, and this should be the last wire that we have to work with. So there we go, we just have this. And it's really small, you all, but right here, that's it. We did it. So with that, I'm just going to use this hole and loop it through. And there we go. All right. Thread, 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 thread. I think we're almost done. Almost, almost, almost. There we go. That's enough. Cool. So we've spaced them out a little bit more. And then if I come over here, check this out, I should have enough room where I can come over. And yes, that should be more than enough. So I'll just do the exact same thing. I'm going to trim this one. Damn. Yep. Just going to slice this and trim the wire back a little bit and then get it into the chip. And then at that point, this exploited system should be completely rewired. You know, I thought I had it right there, but I stepped away too far. All right, cool. So, you know what, that install is a little bit less colorful, but you know what, it doesn't matter, it's on the inside of the console. So, very cool. Alright, so we've cleaned up all that fun stuff, we should be okay there. Now what I want to do is I want to start testing out the system again to make sure it boots up properly. So with that here, let me turn off the soldering iron. This should be fine. Alright, so for all of this, this is about what I'm going to be doing. Just have this all hooked up. We're all okay. Yep. Or actually, kind of do a little something like that. Let's hook up the system, and I just want to make sure it boots. That's going to be the goal. Alright, and I think that's successful there. So, yep, it's booting up. We're all good. Cool. Now I'll be able to tweak the times a little bit further and such as well. That was 3 pulses, so not bad. I know this thing was insta-booting most of the time before, but even if we don't have it constantly insta-booting, that's okay. As long as we have a stable install, we'll be fine. So let's turn this off. I'm also going to try and boot into Zell, see how long that takes. So let's check. I think it's done. Yeah, insta-booted into Zell. Very cool. Alright, so let's turn this off. And now what I want to do is I want to start taping, securing everything down, do the last bit of cleanup on here. I think we'll be okay. Alright, so here again I'm kind of just cleaning up, you know, the points that we did, because even though this is called no clean solder, or no clean flux, excuse me, it's still going to be recommended to clean all of this up. And I'm not even done doing physical stuff to the system yet here. Again, I want to make sure this is working well once it's all secured and such, and is all okay. Most of this should be fine. Yep. So I've gotten all the points on the bottom of the system with no issue. We get to the top points as well, which you all won't really see, but I promise you I'm getting them here. Alright, so got all that, and of course clean up the chip, because why not? So that's just going to be pretty much all the stuff we need here. And again, I'm doing this just because I want to, you know, make sure it's a little bit better than what it came to me in. Like, even the previous install, it was fine, but there's just a few things I was like, you know what, I want to use some different points. Like, I don't really want to use, you know, the chassis for grounding. There's a ground point on the console that I can use with no issue. I want to use the different clock point here. Just again, like some different things that, you know, I've learned and tried over the last 3 years now at this point, and some stuff I'm implementing in 2020 whenever I get around to doing one of these. So that should be all good. Now let's get to doing the taping. So I'm going to use Captain tape for this as opposed to electrical tape. And I'm pretty much just going to kind of transpose everything with where it was prior. So, got a little bit right here. That should be fine, and you just want these to all stay nice and secure. So there we go, I've removed the old electrical tape on that. And I'm going to put one here. So there we go, we got our yellow wire retaped here, and now for these points. So again, I'm kind of going to do something like this, where I'm going to tape this up here first. So again, the reason why I ended up completely moving the CPU reset wire is because I noticed when I ended up pulling it away from this hole right here and moved it closer to the fan itself, just like routed it underneath this route, I noticed I was just getting much better boot times, more reliability, all that fun stuff. While as the green wire, you know, this still goes through here just fine. So that's why I've been a big advocate of moving the CPU reset wire, just giving it some space. You know, everyone needs their space. So we'll be okay there. Let me go ahead and get this wire. Yep. And then here, these are gonna run about the same. And there's about like a general thing, at least I've noticed with the RGHs I've done. There's kind of a general theming you can do with the wiring, but you know, at times it feels like every single console is going to be a little bit different. So, you know, some wiring placements for some consoles might not work super well for others, and I've noticed, you know, especially with RGH 1.2, it is, it's not problematic, it's temperamental, is how I can best describe it when it comes to where you're going to be placing your wires and all that fun stuff. So I've got that right here. I could put, let's see, I think that should actually be okay. Could put another one right here across the way, which I'll do that because, again, why not? because I'd rather have it be too secure than not secure enough. And it's going to have some extra pressure once we put it in the chassis and everything. So just like something like that is fine. There we go. All right. So we have our wires re-secured. We should hopefully be okay. And I don't really have to do anything on that. It's really just on the bottom. You want to make sure this is secured. On the top, I mean, everything is fine at this point here because there's no, how do I say it? There's no sensitive points on here. Like 3.3 volt ground, that's fine. I'm not using the clock anymore, so I'm not worried about, getting that super secured. So let's do the same damn thing that we just did. We're going to hook these up here. We're going to provide some power. And we're going to see about how good the boot ups are on this. And I just want to, again, just get a baseline, make sure this is working. So first of all, for retail, there we go. All right, so it took 2 cycles to do, which I'm happy with. So I'm going to shut this down. Come on. Gotta love when it takes a while. And then I'm going to eject. There we go. So 2 cycles to get into Zell. So, it's within 3 cycles, it seems like right now. I'm able to get it to boot up, which I'm pretty happy with. So there's one more main physical thing that I want to modify on here. Not modify, but just some preventive maintenance for Adam. I'm actually going to be removing both the CPU and GPU coolers. I'm going to remove the old thermal paste, and I'm going to replace it with some nice, fresh MX4 thermal paste. So y'all get to see that process as well. All right, so these X clamps, I wanted to show you all this because I've had people completely curse these X clamps, get super mad at them, like taking them apart. And there's one method I use to remove these, and this is not really like a secret method or anything. Unfortunately, though, it would require you to get parts. So this is actually a Team Executor X clamp tool, which, I mean, if you can find this thing online, it's, from what I saw, I mean, it's super cheap. It's just a little tiny piece of metal set up like this. Super cheap, just makes it so much easier. And I've seen what some people do is, the way they do it, they pretty much, how do I explain it here? They kind of like, they take a flathead for their screwdriver, they kind of put it in right here, and they do a turnkey motion. And with that, it produces enough so that this is just able to pop off. I don't do that. I'm just going to be straight up. I don't do that. This is how I remove the X clamp. So we come here, we go in. So as you can see, it just sits like, you know what? That's not going to be the best. I'm going to show it to you. Now, this is what I'm going to do. All right, just bear with me. Bear with me. I will get to this. All right, so more for demonstration purposes. I had to get one of them off just to show you here. Just get a clear view. But pretty much, you know, you take your X clamp tool, and how do I explain it? It's like the tool's at the top, and there's a slotting right here, and then underneath is the motherboard. You don't want to go underneath the motherboard. You don't want to be at the top here. You just want to slot this thing in. Look at that. So it just slots in real nice, and then you kind of just push down here very gently and kind of come up, and that's it. And then you do the same thing here. You don't even need to really do the pressure like what I was doing there. And the same thing here. That's it, man. That is it. It's so damn easy just using this tool. That's why I love using it. So this is the issue you run into with them though. They like to stick back on each other. So we got them set up like that. I'm going to remove this other heatsink. Oh man, this thing is really gummed up on here. Okay. And yep, there is the factory thermal paste. And before, I mean, this was still running cool. Like, it was actually just fine in terms of like temperatures and such. But I figured since I'm in here, let's just take these off. Let's just clear everything off here so we don't have to worry about it again. And speaking of things to worry about, since my Band-Aid just kept coming off, I just removed it, so, or was trying to come off. So yeah, in case you needed to see a naked Xbox 360 motherboard, I mean, of course it has some wires on it and such. That's it. Very cool. Alright, awesome. Alright, so for my process of removing this old stuff, I just use this Arctic Silver or Arctic Clean remover. That's what it's just called. It's just called Arctic Clean. It's from the same people who do Arctic Silver 5. And I guess I kind of got this habit of using this from this damn system here, the Xbox 360. What I do is I just put some of the remover on here, let it sit there for a little bit, and sometimes you might have to really let it sit for a few minutes here. And the CPU is always easy to clean off, like always easy, the CPU heatsink. The GPU, you really have to fight that thing sometimes, and that's because, I mean, it's such a huge piece right there. So, I think the CPU is probably about ready, and I typically have to do this multiple times here. And I just use some paper towels, come over here. Oh, look at that, yeah. Most of that's come off already. And I even use, just through this, I use my fingernail a little bit just to get rid of that. There we go. So I can tell the CPU heatsink I will need one more pass on here. For the GPU heatsink, let's see. Oh wow, actually most of that is coming off just fine. That's not terrible. It's not terrible at all. Very cool. So let's see how much I can remove just from this one pass here. I've pretty much removed all of it. Alright. So the heat sink's really easy, thankfully. Really easy. Let me go ahead and do this one more time. So I just put a few more drops here and a couple drops here. That's about it. Pretty much removed there. And for the GPU heatsink, about the same thing right there, just fine. Let me just kind of dry this up here because it came over there. That's all okay. So again, that's all fine. So now we get to use the purifier, which of course kind of, cleans up the oily residue and such that's on here. So with this, it's going to be about the same thing, and make sure, of course, you're going to use a different rag for this or whatever the hell you're using. And there we go, we just kind of put it on, let it do its thing. There we go, everything's a little bit slanted, so I kind of just have to be a little bit careful there. And this I might just have to use once or twice. I have to use a lot less of the purifier than the remover, but it is what it is. So, CPU should be all good. And I'll go over this one more time for good measure here. Now, I know some people will say, like, because there's, dude, one of those things that I don't really get in life is the people who just go crazy over thermal paste, who will just go nuts over, oh no, this is better, that's better, this is the better way to apply it, that's better, this is garbage. It's like, for example, Arctic Silver 5, I started using it because it just got really popular with the Xbox 360 era, where, I mean, it was the thing you use. It was Arctic Silver 5 on these consoles. And now if you mention that, people are like, oh, Arctic Silver 5, oh my god, that's so awful. It's not, look, it's not that it's terrible, it's just that there's better stuff out there. But people act like if you put Arctic Silver 5 anywhere near your computer or whatever piece of technology you're using, people act like if you put it even anywhere close, that thing will overheat within 3 seconds. That's not the case. I mean, there is bad thermal paste out there. There is bad. Like, for example, Best Buy's brand that is Dynex, the really white, watery stuff, that stuff is absolutely awful. But Arctic Silver 5 is not bad. It's just, there's stuff that's better. It is what it is. So, there, I'd say I'm pretty happy with how these two look. And I got to rant a little bit about, thermal paste warriors, I guess. So let me put these over to the side. We don't need them at the moment. And let's now work on the 360 itself. Alright, so about the same thing here, except I start to integrate Q-tips into the mix because we are dealing with, I mean, literal dies, like much smaller things. So here, I'm a little more conservative about it. I kind of just put it right there, have it get onto the chip itself just to clean off everything on the chip. Make sure you get the die, make sure you get the chip. You don't have to douse this though, like completely, but you kind of want it to just sit there. So there we go. And with these dies, in case you do not know, you got to get them like mirror finish clean. They got to be real clean before you even think about putting the new stuff on. So this is exciting. We're going to be doing some MX4, which I don't really use. And I got like the big one right here. Yeah, I know it's 2020. I got the 2019 edition. But man, I have repasted all of my computers with this. I repasted a few consoles like PS4 Pros and such. An Xbox One X as well too. This is good stuff. This is real good stuff. Let me grab a Q-tip. And this is just kind of what I do. I go on here and I just kind of hit the sides of the die first. And that way you really just scoop up whatever is there. Get that all clean. Might have to scrub a little bit and just like use a little bit of force, but you don't want to like just go crazy on this. Like, absolutely not. This is the heart of the system right here, man. So all the junk on the side of the die, sides, excuse me, we're talking plural here, that's pretty much all been removed. Yeah, that's fine. And then the die itself. Got all that. And let me use the other side of this Q-tip here to remove kind of whatever's left. Can I get that? Yep. Alright. So that is about everything on the CPU itself. The CPU is always, at least to me, the CPU is always really easy to do. The GPU, I mean, it's not like it's hard, it's just the GPU, you're going to have to go a couple times at it. But look at that. I don't even need to hit this again with the remover. Like, this is done. It's done. That's it. It's done. Cool. So there we go, we have that done already. So now with the GPU side, we kind of just do the same thing, except we're dealing twice here. So I kind of just gently go over some of it to absorb the excess. And get all the sides. There we go. You really don't want to apply a ton of pressure on this, but you do want to make sure you are going to remove everything. Man, I'll tell you this, like when you're removing these here, so this, like for example, I'm gonna have to hit this again, but one of the worst things is it's never like completely held it up. It's kind of a test of patience. But like all like the, I guess what do you call them, fuses, or I'm not sure, but like kind of all the like little pieces right there. The components there, how about that? The components that are on the actual like platter itself on either CPU or GPU, it's so bad when this stuff just gets in there, like really gets in there, and you have to clean it out. It just gets really annoying. Also, one pro tip as well, if you have an Xbox 360, you want to keep it horizontally, not vertical. And you can actually tell if someone's had their system vertical for the lifetime of the console, because when you open this up, you pretty much see the thermal paste kind of like, it's not like awful, like it's not just all over the place, but it's kind of just like dripped down here, and you'll just see it kind of like starting to pool up down here and down here, which means they've had the system vertical for, you know, most of its life that it was running. So don't do that, is what I'm saying. But let me go ahead and finish cleaning this guy up here. We're almost done with the GPU. Alright, so there we go. Zoomed in a little bit, but once we have it all nice and clean, we can just now do the purifier. And this is the easier step, but you pretty much just do the same thing here, kind of go over the die. This one I get a little more liberal with, but kind of, get it on the die, get on the everywhere really, and just get that all purified. So right there, we should be okay. Just let it kind of do its magic for a little bit. And then at this point, you can do the exact same thing with your Q-tips. So with that, I'm just going to clean up the CPU die itself. Get this all cleaned up all nice. We should be okay. And I'd say that's good. Yep, that's good for the CPU. And for the GPU, kind of going to just wipe up the excess here. And then get the dies, and I already see it's drying up real nicely. Thank goodness. So there we go. And I like to go over this one more time. So again, with that, just get that there, get that there, get that there. I think we're good at that point, man. And that's, actually, this is one of the easier consoles to do it on, thankfully, because the old thermal paste wasn't like awful. I've seen much worse. So there we go. Kind of get this all cleaned and purified. It's all okay. Alright, and the exact same thing over here. Get this all clean and purified. Yup. Alright, and you all, we are good at this point. So, you do not want to put the CPU and GPU heat sinks back on here, because if you do that and you run the console, you're going to burn this shit up, alright? So this is where we need to apply the thermal paste. So again, this is something, it's contingency point for a lot of people. I'm one of those people. I prefer to just, some people, you know, they say, hey, you got to put it on, you spread it, all that other fun stuff. I don't do that. I don't do the spreading thing. I used to, but I just put it on and then I let science do the rest of the work for me. So with that here, what I mean is you pretty much do like a little bit of like a grain of rice on these, or like a little dot. So on each of these, squeeze out a little bit, like that should be enough. Just need a tiny bit right here. That should be fine. And then just kind of a grain of rice across this. Should be fine. Yep. And it got a little bit off on there, but that's going to be okay. Cool. So now we have the thermal paste applied on here. Once we have it applied across all of them. And that's the nice thing with a 360, you barely have to use any. Like, barely have to use any, but it does make a difference. So this will be the GPU, which I'll just put this on gently. Then what you could do is flip this upside down, like so. And I'm holding it from the bottom, but you kind of want to take, you know, your X clamp, pop it on, kind of just take this. There we go. And this is how you can put them on. So you want to kind of slot this right here, push down, and you want to kind of like pull up on this, what I'm doing, while pushing at the same time. And you make a nice clean connection. There you go. So the GPU is back on completely. So now I get to do the same thing on the CPU side of things, which, let's see, it's not really going to matter what order this goes in. Pop this in, flip it upside down, and we're going to do the same damn thing right here. So kind of pop that in, and then again, if you all are looking here, it's just kind of, let me move this closer, but showing you all, you push down while pulling up, go down, done. Push down while pulling up, go down, done. That's it. That is it. All right, cool. So now those are all back in place. So because that's all back in place and we just did, a pretty major swap, we completely tore down the console and put this back together. I am going to test this one more time, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of keep testing this throughout the process here. But really, the actual console modifications are complete. They've been redone. I'm pretty happy with it now. So we got that. Let me hook up. I know I just hooked up the power, but hook up power. I'm going to hook up the fan. And I'm going to hook up HDMI. And just make sure this thing boots up, because that's going to be real important, right? So there we go. Turn it on. I think that's done. Yeah. Okay, so there we got an InstaBoot. Perfect. So that's booting into the retail side with no issue. And now, hopefully, this console should run cooler. And Adam, you don't have to worry about this thing at this point now. Like, all the caps look good. I mean, the console is clean enough on here. The modifications have been redone. Like, I think we're good on preventive maintenance, man. And let me also boot up into Zell. So I think that's done as well. Yep, insta-boot into Zell. So let me shut this thing down. And let's begin rebuilding the system. All right, so I just kind of did my last bit of cleanup here. I also cleaned up the fans, and let's get to rebuilding here. Oh, and everyone here, this is one thing I like to do. Just before I finally finish putting everything in, I do have to just be careful with this wire here. Got to make sure we're not going to pinch that. Put the fan back in. There we go. Everything is clear. And what I like to do at this point, before I go through the process of, screwing everything back in here completely, what I like to do is make sure that we are still getting a boot up. We're not getting any freezes on the dashboard, nothing like that. So I'm actually even going to pop the fan shroud on here. All right, so there we go. We're good at this point. Let's go ahead, turn this thing back on. And InstaBoot. Awesome. So you know what? I am particularly happy with this. I do want to say, so shout out to Octal or Octal's Mod Shop. I know he's asked me before, he's like, why don't you use a cap on this? Dude, I've never used a cap on these chips, and I typically have, like, if I'm doing a Jasper, I'll get InstaBoots or close to InstaBoot. So I guess I just haven't really needed it, but we got an InstaBoot right there. And by InstaBoot, I mean, look at the, just watch, I'm going to explain this and it's not going to work. But look at the green light here. So on the chip itself, just look at the green light. It's flashing, and it's finished a cycle. And of course, like I said, I just said it, right? I said, look, I'm going to explain this and it's not going to work. So sometimes, I mean, the thing is with RGH, sometimes it just doesn't boot up, which it is what it is there. But let me turn this off here. So try it again. So there we go. That is a complete cycle. And the console is turning on. So that means it's insta-booting. That's what it means. It means it finishes one complete glitch cycle and it will work. Because it is a glitch, which requires, booting up the system and such, sometimes it doesn't work. That's why sometimes you'll turn it on, it doesn't work. Sometimes it takes 2 cycles, 3 cycles. Sometimes it takes 20 cycles. It depends. But typically, if you can get it within 3 cycles, I would say that's good. I would say that's pretty good. So there we go. All right. Well, let's finish. Now that it's working and everything, let's go ahead and screw everything back in. Alright, so this is the last test I like to do before I finally close it up. What I do is I put all the screws in, so all the T8, all the T10 screws, and I hook it up just one more time to see how it boots up, because this is typically the tell-all of, if the system's going to work well or not. Once you have everything screwed in, it's in the chassis, all that fun stuff. So there we go. That was one glitch cycle. And we got InstaBoot. Perfect. So it is booting up into retail. If we get to the dashboard and it doesn't freeze, again, that's another good sign. And I'll do a few tests here. That's just typically how I'll do these RGH 1.2s especially. I'll just keep testing throughout. So let me turn this off. It turns off gracefully. And I'm going to boot up into Zell one more time. So just finish the glitch cycle. That should be an insta-boot. Yeah, that's an insta-boot right there. Very cool. So we got Zell reloaded. And one more time, I'm going to turn off the console. I'm going to try and boot into the retail side before we completely close this back up. So that is, oh, that's done. That was one pulse, well, one glitch cycle, excuse me. And there we go. We got an insta-boot. And we got into the retail side. So I would say this is also why I sent this console to Adam before, because I was like, you know what, it's insta-booting, it's working real well, so I'm happy that even redoing all that, we're still having the same success rate. So I will turn this thing off, and we still have some more work to do, but all the rest of the work I have to do is now going to be on the outside of the system. It's going to be, you know, the OS setup, I guess you can say. So I no longer have to mess with the DVD drive, I no longer have to mess with the actual physical installation of this. Alright, I think we're good at this point, so again, let me now try up another boot. I'm just going to plug these all in here, turn on the system. Oh, and that's just, there, that's better. And cool, it insta-booted. Fantastic. I can also turn off this light here, that's not really needed. And actually, you all might be able to see, I don't know if you all can really see the lights on there. But either way, turn that off, turn it on to get to Zell, and it insta-boots again into Zell. That is great. That is exactly what we are looking for. So, let me turn this thing off, and now we just get to do the software stuff, which we don't have to open up the console again. And for that, I should probably, why did I turn the light off? I need this light back on. So now let's actually put the console on the side, and right here, this is the thing we're going to need next. So not just this, but we're also going to need a whole other thing. So this guy, which you all probably maybe saw this in the title and we're just like, oh, this is what we're coming here for, this is what we're talking about. So let me discuss this a little bit. In short, this goes into this. The long story of it, Adam is wanting to just have, you know, an ultimate modified offline Xbox 360 where he can play everything off an internal drive or USB or both. So we were talking and he was asking, hey, what's the biggest internal drive I can get set up on here? And I said, I believe 2 terabytes is going to be the limit for this. And you literally just, you open up the shell here, you pop in the hard drive or whatever SATA drive you're using, close it back up, and then you format it because it's an RGH. So you no longer have to worry about security sectors that you would on a retail system. So we were just kind of having a back and forth, and he was thinking of what to put in. He just said, hey, I kind of want to put an SSD. And I told him, so I'm one of those people, I'm not really a believer in this, right? Like, I got an SSD in my PS3, my Super Slim, does not really make that much of a difference. These older systems really don't get a whole lot of benefit from going SSD, if any. But Adam would rather have an SSD. His belief is that SSDs typically have less of a failure rate than hard drives. So I just told him, dude, if you want me to pop it in, you send me the parts, you pay for them, you send the parts, I'll put the drive in, I'll set up for you. So that's what we have right here. We have a Western Digital green 1 terabyte SSD. And as per Adam's request, he would like me to crack open the 20 gigabyte Xbox 360 hard drive and replace it with a 1 terabyte solid state drive. I'm just thinking here, could you imagine telling someone that we're doing this back in 2005? Like, somebody just paid $400 for their Xenon 20 gigabyte 360, and then we come from the future like, oh yeah, dude, we actually cracked that thing open, and people are like, oh my god, it's I just bought the system and you cracked it open. It's like, yeah, we cracked it open, we put a 1 terabyte SSD in there, and then you have to explain what an SSD is to them. That'd be funny. I don't know, that's my humor. Let me see, so this is what we're going to need here. And this is going to be a given, but Adam, I'm just going to keep the internal drive on here. Like, I don't think you're going to need it, and tit for tat, all right? It's there. So let me go ahead and get to all of this here. So for this, it's been a while since I've done a drive swap. but they're pretty simple to do, and especially on a, damn, I need a smaller one. Especially on a an RGH or JTAG or whatever, because you literally just connect the drive up and you're good. But of course, since it's a 360, you have to put it in this little enclosure because there's a little adapter right here. So this is pretty simple to do. You kind of just unscrew the screws right here. So there's one, there's two, and these are T6, by the way, so you're gonna have to go even smaller and weirder than on the Xbox 360 console itself. But that's number one, that's number two, that's number three, and there's a fourth one, and guess where it is? Guess, it's right here. So I'm going to just remove the old Microsoft security sticker, because I mean, dude, this entire console's warranty has been voided. The hard drive's not gonna matter. You send in a 20 gigabyte hard drive like this to Microsoft, they're gonna send it back like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? That's gonna be their reaction, I'm sure. So there we go. We have a nice hard drive seal right there. Going to remove this. So there we go. We have all 4 screws, and now we need to gently remove this guy. Kind of just comes up like that. Something like that. Cool. So there we go. We have this piece removed. And where do I just put it here? Be careful with this. You got your little assembly, you got the push button, you got a spring. Don't lose any of those. So now on the inside here, are these T8s or T10s? I don't exactly remember. Let me check the bits, because again, it's been years since I've swapped out one of these. These are T10s. So once you get on the inside, you need a T10 bit. I remember, like, before I was really like getting into modding and stuff, I thought this was just like a super customized hard drive in a real like special shell or something. And then as I actually started learning about the hardware and started taking it apart, it's like, oh no, this is just a specialized enclosure, and it has a standard SATA drive in there, and it has a SATA to Xbox 360 internal hard drive interface, which is why you need it. So it's not really that much magic, it's just a whole lot of engineering. But you take those 4 screws off, you gently remove this shield. This is just so over-engineered, like I'm just sitting here thinking about this. So now, you kind of gently remove the hard drive, and you can disconnect it like that. So you disconnect it, you remove the hard drive, and there you go. We have a Seagate 20 gigabyte hard drive, aka garbage. So let's take the solid state. So we got the solid state. Going to, there's a warranty information, doesn't even matter. Remove before installing, yes sir. Remove that. And now we just work backwards. We pop the 1 terabyte solid state drive in. We connect it up to the interface right here. So this will be just sitting here making like Tina Belcher noises. Guy, move. All right. So let me see. Best way to do this. There we go. All right. So once you have that there, you kind of come in. Well, this is the piece itself. So you just kind of mount it above like that. So there we go, we have that all sorted in. You take your hard drive cover, well, at least this metal shield. I'm actually going to clean this up a little bit. Alright, it was just a tiny bit dusty. Not like a ton, but a tiny bit. And then you put this over right here. So now, thanks to the power of engineering, everything is going to be covered there real nice and flush. Yep, that's all good. So now again, just work backwards. You take your 4 very small, God that hurts. You take your 4 very small T10 screws and you just screw them in one by one, so that way you end up remounting the new drive. And again, this process here, so there's 2 ways of doing it. Like, I actually have a video covering how to do this for retail systems, and for retail systems you are limited to only Western Digital. No, I do not know if you can do 1 tera like SSDs. You're only limited to Western Digital because you have to put it in vendor mode, and you're only limited to 500 gigabytes, unfortunately, if you're doing it on a retail system, because essentially you have to dump a security sector file that Microsoft has created for their specialized drives, and since they only made up to 500 gigabyte drives for the Xbox 360, that means your choices are, if I remember correctly, 20, 60, 120, 250, 320 maybe, and 500. So those are all your choices, I want to say. So there we go, we have that set up. But essentially, you have to take one of those security sector files, you take a Western Digital drive, you get it into vendor mode, you reflash it with that security sector file, so you're essentially, your Western Digital drive no longer thinks it's a Western Digital drive at that point, and then it will work on your retail Xbox 360. But again, since we have a hard-modded system here, we get to bypass all of that. So, wow, that's so much lighter. Oh my god, that's so much lighter. So, okay. Sorry, I got to talk my spiel right there. I like talking about this stuff. Anyways, you come here, you take your T6, and you just, again, work backwards, and you put these 4 screws into the casing, and then you are done with the physical install, at least. Now, the rest of everything I need to do is going to be between my computer and the Xbox 360. So with this, we're actually going to get a nice little bump up in video quality and probably microphone quality, because I'm going to take this 360 over to the computer. All right, so there. As you can see, this is just a standard looking 20 gigabyte hard drive casing. It's very, very light, so it almost feels like somebody just kind of finessed you right there. But no, you're getting a hella good deal, because inside of this is a Western Digital 1 terabyte solid state drive. And now for the physical installation, you take your it's very easy. You take your Xbox 360. We have this right here, all right? You take your hard drive adapter, you pop it in, you're done. Now let's go ahead and take this over to the computer. Alright, so as you can see here, we have the 360 booting up, and this is kind of in tutorial fashion, I guess. This is typically how I will look at my systems here. So it is booting up. I have turned it off and on probably about 10 times at this point, hooked up in my setup here, and everything seems to be working just fine. So for our formats, we just go to System, Storage, Unformatted, Format. Yes. And here I need to enter the serial number, so let me go ahead and do that. And as you can see, it is formatting, so we just gotta wait here a few seconds, and let's see how long this takes. There we go, 926 gigabytes free. So hard drive, memory unit, I think that's all pretty self-explanatory for Adam here. So we need to start transferring over a few things now, don't we? So let me go ahead and do some other stuff here. There's going to be, well, let's see. There's going to be a few installs. I'm going to upgrade his dashboard because I don't know what dashboard he's on. Let me check that. 17511. So even though he's going to keep this offline, I'm going to update his dashboard to the latest and start installing a few things to get him started. Alright, so I'd like to get this set up for Adam here, and I just had to kind of dust off what I had before. Now, for anybody who might have seen this video a while ago, I was setting up a few 360s at the time, and I ended up creating a ISO that I ended up publicly releasing that just had XEX menu 1.1, and it had a few starter apps and kind of showed how to set it up. So my idea was you can burn this to a disk and copy and paste a few things, set a few things up, and within about 10 minutes or so, you'll have all your basic functionality you need all set up on your Xbox 360. And it's super helpful to have it on a disk as long as your disk drive is working. So what I did was I ended up dusting off that ISO, and I brought it to, well, 2020 standards. So at least for this one, the one that I'm using here, I ended up updating Aurora on here. I updated Dash Launch. I put in the hard drive compatibility fixer. Zell Launch, I just decided to dump that in because why the hell not? Then also Freestyle, that's still there, that hasn't been updated. And I also ended up putting in here these files, which are the modified backwards compatibility files that Matthew LH, I believe that's his username, ended up putting out. So this is the latest backwards compatibility for the original Xbox for Xbox 360 update, with a bunch of other stuff added in. So you'll be able to utilize game chat, you'll be able to utilize extra plugins, you'll be able to use the guide on here. All of that's going to work out real well. So that's why I'm just burning off this ISO, just to make it real easy for me to set up on here. But there's also one other thing I want to do. I want to take Adam's dashboard and I'd like to update it. So let's go ahead and go through that process. All right, so for this here, I'm just going to open up JRunner, open this up. Here we go, and let's go ahead and get this all started. So I believe 17544, is that the latest one? No, 17599 is the latest, so I actually need to update this real quick. For this, I actually wanted to give another shout out here to Octal from Octal's Mod Shop. This is actually where I was getting the downloads here, so Aurora's broken at the moment, at least the exact moment I'm recording this, but I was able to get the latest Dash launch, and I guess I'm going to be getting the latest JRunner from here as well too. Alright, so here, let's start this again. So JRunner, here we go, and let's go ahead and load in our sources. So I've got Adams, let's see here, I'll just grab the update flash. This was a glitch 2 image, it's already populated all the information here, so that's going to be all good. And for our dash version, 17599 is what I'm trying to do here. So here we're going to be building this as a glitch 2, and actually it would technically be better to use, I just wanted to verify this, but it would technically be better to use the originals. So I'm actually going to load source, get his first NAND dump, load extra, the second NAND dump, and I'm going to build it as glitch 2. 17599, all that's going to be okay. And yeah, I'll just do a create XE build image. And I think that's it. Is that? Yep. Upd flash, so that's it there. So here we go, we have the latest UPD flash file. And I'm just going to update this through Zelle itself. So if you heard me rummaging around, I was just getting a USB drive. So this is how you set this up. This is pretty simple to do. For this, you just take your USB drive. We're going to, I know I was using this for PlayStation Classic, so ironic that it's Sony, but format it to FAT32. All right, that's fine. Come in here, copy, paste the update flash. So this is going to allow us to update to the latest dashboard. And let's go ahead, and once this is all done here, I also have the CD, it just ejected. I'm going to eject the USB drive, and let's hop over to the 360. Alright, so back over here at the 360, first I'm going to have to turn off the console. There's nothing on here, so it's not like I can just reboot into Zelle launch or something. But I have to turn off the console, and then I'm going to turn it on with the eject button. And I have the flash drive hooked up right now. Alright, so there we go. We have Zelle Reloaded coming up. That is beautiful. I don't have anything hooked up to my network, so it's just going to request DHCP and timeout. But this is how the process goes for updating. It's super simple. You just pop in your flash drive and wait until it gets to the bottom. So there we go. It's now saying it found our update file, and to press power now if you don't want to flash, but we do want to flash, so I'm going to continue on here. And there we go. It now says that it's been opened up and it's going to write this. Now this is a big block Jasper, so it's going to take a bit longer to write over a 66 megabyte NAND as opposed to 16 megabytes, but yeah, that's about the process. You just build it out, pop it onto a flash drive, and you can load it up like this. I know some people use Flash 360, some people prefer Simple Flash 360 tool or Simple Flash tool. I don't remember what it's called, but I don't know, I just use this. I use Zelle because I'm like, it's built into the console. You just press the eject button and let it do all the work. You literally need no other intervention. Put in flash drive, press eject, wait, that's it. But yeah, that's my spiel on there. Let's just wait for this to finish. All right, so now it tells us image written shut down now. So that's exactly what it is. Just shut down, remove the flash drive, turn it back on. And here we go, the system is powering up yet again, and there's still nothing fancy on here by any means, but let's just wait. We can come over now to settings, console settings. Check that out, we are on the latest dashboard. That is a beautiful feeling. So now I'm going to use that update disk. So for this, I'm just going to pop this out. No, what am I doing? I'm just going to, again, open up the disk drive, pop in the CD I burned, close this, and it should automatically boot. Let's see, I'm actually going to disable that real quick because I just don't like that on systems. Disable. Oh, damn it. Okay. It got there too fast. And now if this works, exit, because I don't need to sign into anything. And there we go. So now I'm just going to change over to DVD, and I'll go ahead and record this whole process. So DVD, I just go to Content, I press Y, copy, and then change over to HDD1, Y, paste. And what this does is it just copies over a GOD version of XEX menu onto the console itself. Alright, so all that's done. So now I can even show you that. For example, I will exit out of here, and I'm actually going to completely remove the disk, and now I should actually get to that setting here. Console, autoplay, disable. There we go. But if we go to games, look at this. XEX menu is showing up, and I can enter this, and it boots up a lot faster just because it's now on the SSD of all things. So I'm going to pop the disk back in, and now let's begin copying everything over. So now the nice thing is we have an entry point of actually booting up Homebrew and all that fun stuff on the console itself. So let's see, HDD1, DVD, there we go. And what I like to do is copy over, well, first I'll copy over, let's see, yeah, I'll just do apps. So copy, move back over to HDD1, paste. And I really don't run apps off this disk, I just use it to transfer everything over. Alright, so now we have that copied over, just going to go back over to DVD. We already have content for Freestyle. I'm going to copy this out, go back over here, and let's see, I'll pop it into apps just to keep everything clean, and paste it. Some people might ask, why are you installing Freestyle Dash when you already have, or Freestyle 3, excuse me. Why would you install Freestyle 3 when you already have Aurora, which is better and more up-to-date? Just to have multiple options. It's good to have multiple options and to have a fallback on here. So typically I'll put on Aurora and Freestyle 3, but I like to default to Aurora since, of course, that's the newer one. This is the last thing right here, which I will get to that in a moment. So let me see. I'm going to come over to our apps, and let's start getting set up. So I'm going to launch Dash Launch and Default. As you can see, this is a Jasper, of course, with a glitch 2 type. So let's see, the temperatures are looking good as well too so far. So let's see here for paths, I need to come over default. That's it, default, HDD, apps, Aurora, aurora.xex. So that way, I'm going to have to, you know what, that's going to be fine. But pretty much whenever I have to, exit to dashboard, it's just going to launch Aurora. So that's all okay. Let me do right bumper, and we're going to save this to the hard drive. Why not? So X, it's been saved there to the hard drive. And at this point, we are good. So let's completely turn off the system and turn it back on. All right, so I just restarted the system, and Aurora is coming up just fine. So let's see what we're going to do here. For this, let me go ahead, update the assets. We don't need any profile right now. I guess I'll go ahead and do auto scan, manage paths. So I'm going to change this to HDD1. And how many folders is this? Let me double check. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so 4. So for this, I'm going to select content with a depth of 4. And script data, none. Yeah, that's going to be okay. So save that. Let me also add, change HDD1. So I'm going to drop this into apps. So that's 1, 2. Yep. So apps is technically going to be applications with a depth of 2. That's all good. Add, change. Is there anything else really on here, though? That's about it, really, because, you know, I'm not going to put any games on here and such, and that's going to be all up to Adam, really, so he can change, you know, the paths and such on this if he wants to, but those are all there. For modules, that's all okay. Language is fine. There's no security that's needed. There's no update since we got the latest one. I think we're all good on that, and check this out. We now have, Aurora, Dash Launch, Flash 360, Freestyle 3, the Compatibility Fixer, an XE to God, Zell Launch, and 2 XEX menus, a Games on Demand version, and an XEX version. So let's see, for scripts, let me go back to system here. I'm going to go to, well, the file manager is really not needed on this. That will all be okay here. Just back, scripts. Let me launch the repo manager. And let's see, so for filters, I can go ahead, no. I'm actually not really going to do too much on here because I kind of want to let Adam customize it to his own liking. Utility scripts, though, I could add some stuff like the database cleaner. So yeah, I'll go ahead and install this. The disk to God installer, sure. Console info viewer, why not? Free my disk, free your hard drive from title updates of games that you don't have anymore. Yeah, that'd be helpful. And I think that should all be okay. So just those are all good there. So I think we'll be okay on that. Yep, we should be fine. If we check this out here, now we have checked that out. This is what I really like. You have all the temperatures here showing up. So everything seems to be okay, at least on my end. Now, one of the last big things I was wanting to set up for Adam was the hard drive files. So I'm actually going to pop this disk back in here, and I'd be interested to see what it shows up as. So it's checking device, checking device. Oh, okay, it reads it just as a DVD or a launch title there. So for this, I'm going to go into the hard drive compat fixer. So just launch this. And now it's going to end up, you know, creating the partition we need and such. So I'm just going to press A. And there we go. So I'll just press exit, well, B to exit. Because this is the default on here, Aurora, that works. So now I need to turn off the console and turn it back on. So there we go. At this point here, let me go back to system, the file manager, and I'll go into, where is it, DVD. It's all showing up. And for this, I'm going to do the Xbox One, just regular 64 meg is fine. Regular is just nothing special. HUD, you get that, and then the HUD with the plugins. I'll go ahead and do that one. Why not? So with this, I can copy it, I guess. One file's in queued to copy. Go over here and paste. And yep, we're going to do that. Yes. So there we go. We are all good. I'm going to X out of here completely. And yet again, I'm going to restart the console. Alright, so we have restarted the system here, and everything seems to be up and running. So for this, just to test it, I'm going to pop in my copy of Conquer Live and Reloaded, well, my original here, I'm just taking it from the disk. And let's see how it recognizes it. Check that out. So you can hold X to launch it, hold Y for details. Let me see. So it's not showing up anything there. Achievements, preview, rename, all that fun stuff. That's really cool though, how it loads up everything. So I guess I'll go ahead and launch this. And let's wait. So I know this game is already working just fine under normal backwards compatibility circumstances, but if we did not have the backwards compatibility files installed at all, this game would not work in any way. I do hear it spinning and chugging and running, and here we go. So this seems to be booting up with no issue, and if I bring this up, well, let's see. Will it actually do it? No, it doesn't like that because I'm not signed into a profile. All right. Let me make a profile real quick. I forgot about that. So I'm just going to create profile. Yeah, on the hard drive is fine. Player 1, that's fine. Done. All right, let's try this again. So this time I'm going to hold X to launch. So here we go. We are at the same screen. Everything is working just fine. I remember it takes a few seconds to allow us to even skip this. Actually, oh, if this is the first time we're booting up this game, I don't even think we can skip this this intro sequence here. So let's just wait for it. So we are finally in game past the full motion video, and wow, this looks really good. I forgot how good this game looks. Anyways, let's go ahead, try and bring this up yet again. And we should have guide access. Dang, that actually keeps crashing out. I wonder what's going on with that. I might have to try another one here. Let me see. So I'm just going to come in here, and what I'll do is I'll just delete the current compatibility file. That's fine. I'm going to come back over to my disk. It's not showing up, is it? DVD, that's it. I'll come here, 64 megabyte, and I did HUD plugins, so I'm going to just try HUD. And copy, that's going to be okay. And HDD0, paste, and I'll just do the same thing, just copy everything in here and reboot the system, and let's see if we have any better luck with that. And here we go, we have this playing in the background, but I think we have a pretty good balance. So at this point, I'm able to sign in just fine, even though technically you can't use your profiles on original Xbox games, but I can bring up the guide and there's no interference. So I want to give Adam here a little bit of a bonus on that, so that's the nice thing. Because typically if you bring this up, you can't access the guide at all, but it looked like when we were using plugins, that one just didn't seem to work very well with what we were trying to do here, so at least he can open this up, he has guide access, and it's not going to crash out, you know, either all the time or some of the time. So I think we're all good there. I think we're all good. Let's go ahead and hop out of here, because this is working. So here we are finally at the end. I've pretty much done everything that not only I wanted to do, got the system up and running, respect here, and did some things that Adam had requested. So this is pretty much it. In short, we took this already RGH 1.2 Jasper system. I ended up flashing the disk drive properly this time. I redid the physical installation of this. I repasted the CPU and the GPU, you know, popped on fresh thermal paste, all that fun stuff, cleaned out the system, put it all back together, upgraded from a 20 gigabyte internal hard drive to a 1 terabyte solid state drive, updated to the latest dashboard, threw on a few custom applications on here, made sure everything was working, and finally put on the latest hacked backwards compatibility files. So that way he should have a complete whitelist on here. Now I have said that this is of course original Xbox emulation and it's not going to be perfect, but the whitelist is completely banished now, so any game should at minimum attempt to boot at this point. But yeah, man, I think that is it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get this thing packed up. I am going to fire up a game and kind of just let the system run overnight to make sure it runs without any issues, but the temperatures are looking fine to me at this point, and I think we're good to go now. So I also totally forgot about this here, just one last step, and this is always something I tend to forget, but avatars are needed on the 360, and sometimes, you know, some games might not work properly without them. So what I had to do is download the latest matching system update and extract it to this flash drive, but you need to rename this to cache istem update as opposed to cache system update. So now that we have that, I'm just going to eject this and go back over to the 360. This is the very last thing we need to do here software-wise. So now over here, I'm just going to pop in the USB drive, and let's see. It's detected that it was inserted. And you know what? I actually might have to exit out to the dashboard itself, so let me just come back here, and let's try this again. And there we go. So now I have to say yes, and it looks like it's going to update, but it's not. It's just extracting files onto the SSD itself. And we wait. So there we go, the system's restarted, and at this point we should have the avatar update, so this should be completely good to go software-wise. I also did pop some games on here for the time being, but this is just going to be, I'm going to boot up these games and pretty much have them run all night, and once I verify this is all working just fine, I'll delete them and ship this back out. Alright, so it's the next day here. I've had this thing running for about 9 or 10 hours straight. I've just had it running 1 or 2 games, and take a look at the temperatures here. So the nice thing is, I mean, maybe this is because it was also by a window here overnight, but if anything, the temperatures have been getting lower on this. So I think the highest I saw the GPU here, where it says graphics, for example, was around maybe 67, 68 degrees when I was playing a game off a disk, and now just playing stuff off the internal SSD here, everything is below 60 degrees Celsius. So that shows me that this is working real well. This is, again, all overnight, and I think we're good at this point here. I think I'm pretty happy with this. So let's go ahead and exit back out to the Aurora home here. Everything loads up. And now we can finally start getting this thing all wrapped up and put back together. By the way, just touching the system, at least on the bottom side, it is like barely lukewarm to the touch. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this system now. So with that, as I said, I will need to delete these here. So where the hell do I do that? There we go, delete. Yes, that's gonna be fine. And I gotta do the same thing with this guy here. And there we go. So again, I think we are completely done with this system at this point now. It has everything that Adam is going to need and a little bit more. So let's turn this thing off and pack it up. Oh, Lily, it's so early in the morning for you, isn't it? It's so hard being a dog. Next to a bunch of SCART cables and some controllers. I understand how that goes. Well, that's about it for this video here. I'm just going to really pack this up and ship it out. I just need to tape this up, a little bit and everything, and then we'll be all good. So that's been about it for this video. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you did, a like would absolutely be appreciated. If you didn't like it, a dislike would be fine as well too. However, if you made it to the very end of the video, I have a little bit of a bonus for you. You see, Adam ended up giving me some presents that I didn't show you all until now. So he gave me these cute little Dreamcast stickers that I really very much appreciate. And also, because he wanted to meme on me, he included a trading card of himself. So, as a part of this, you see, I kind of want to follow up on this again. One of the other reasons why I do not have a open shop or open services like this, as I said earlier in the video, I just would feel bad if I mess up something like the DVD drive and it has to come back. But the second reason why I wouldn't trust myself with a shop is because I would pack shit up like this in people's boxes. And they would have to see disturbing images like this, a fat man being shirtless and drinking milk when they open up their systems. Why? Because I love doing shit like this. I don't know why.
Figure it out. He's a really good YouTuber, does a lot of great things with like Xbox mods and things. Now, he, alright, so we did a little project together, and I'll get to that in a second, but he had a very particular request, and I feel it. He included some pieces of paper, and he said to react to them. In other words, I don't know if they're notes or what it is exactly I'm about to look at, but here we go. What is this? I don't know what this is. This is some blurry pictures of a fat guy drinking what looks like milk, I guess. Apparently this is very important to Mr. Mario. Alright.